Hello and welcome to Colleague 7's Sprint Review of 19.01.01. This will cover the work undertaken between the 8th of January to the 21st of January. We start with the sprint goal, and continuing with our previous sprint theme, our aim was to enhance and refine the offer and placement entity workflows in preparation for the back office project, whilst continuing to progress our Broadbean integration. Looking at the high-level items and to explain further, in this sprint we were able to introduce an Adverts tab to the requirement record. This will contain an overview of the various job boards you have posted out to via the Broadbean integration, as well as responses that you've received. I'll give a demo on this shortly and further functionality will follow. We've updated our API with the ability to retrieve all skills from the skills library. We've rewritten the commission splits workflow so that this area is more consistent with the workflows in the system. Again, I'll go through this shortly. We've made sure that multiple owners of a requirement are copied over to the commission splits table when making a placement. The place by user is assigned 100% by default, but this will ensure that you have all the associated owners ready to receive their commission in a single process. We fixed some merge field issues when using the uploaded template. This turned out to be more of a data dictionary clause update rather than something that required coding, but in any case a fix has been applied. We've updated the account reference field so that the character limit is driven by a global setting. We've fixed an issue when deleting skills from a large skill library in admin. And further to feedback, we've also updated the link to requirement option in candidates to include the ownership field and to run on selection. I'll explain what I mean by that shortly. We'll now go through a brief demonstration on the key features from this sprint. Okay, so the first point to cover is the Adverts tab that has been added to the requirement record. So the Adverts tab is in relation to the Broadbean integration work that we've been working on over the course of the last few sprints and will continue to work on until we've completed essentially the whole integration project. But if I start from the beginning, the post to Broadbean option, which was added a few sprints back, works in conjunction with a user group permission. And also within your user settings area, there'll be a Broadbean username and password to store in relation to this feature. But on selection of post to Broadbean and confirming yes, it'll open up a new tab, logging you into Broadbean and then passing over the requirement details into the Broadbean interface. What you can then do within this area is select the various different job boards that you wish to use as part of posting the vacancy. And obviously against this account, we have two test job boards that are set up for the purposes of testing. You then obviously continue. It then goes through into the kind of main advert information section where you can confirm your job description and the specific details in there. And obviously a lot of that would have been copied over from the requirement into Broadbean, and from there you continue and you post out. What we've now got within Colleague is an Adverts tab to view the success of that post and essentially to see what kind of responses you have. So on selecting adverts, it will go off to Broadbean. It will look to sync what is the latest situation with regards to the posts, and it will list the different job boards that you've used and obviously advise the responses that you've had back, the applications that you've had back in response to the post. What you can do is obviously select the associated job board. It will load the applicants. The applicants will then come through, and then from here on, this is where the functionality that we then look to implement over the coming sprints would kick in. So from here, you would obviously want to be able to download some information about that candidate or shortlist that candidate into this requirement. But currently, as things stand, this is where the functionality will currently stop. So you'll be able to see the details of the applicant that has applied. You can also open the advert, and if you want to, you can choose to delete the advert from that job board, which will obviously update Broadbean. So we have obviously introduced that functionality to delete a post that you've obviously made against the various different or individually against the different job boards, and obviously to view the specific applicants that have applied. But in terms of the workflow to then carry them on into the requirement and into the recruitment workflow within the system itself, that's what is pending now at this point. So that's the main update that we've made as part of this sprint. The next point to cover is a minor update in relation to the link to requirement option of the candidate record. So off this submit option here, the link to requirement. So we had previously updated this so that when on selecting this, rather than it going off to the requirement selection screen, it now runs a partial view. But in doing so, we omitted to add the user or the ownership field as a selection criteria. So it created some problems off the back of it being put in place. What we've done is we've updated the link to requirement now so that on running this, not only is the ownership option added, but also it will run automatically. So now on selecting link to requirement, it loads the partial view, but it also loads all live requirements that you currently own and puts it in an ordering so that the latest requirements are first. So that just hopefully improves on the sort of time that it takes to work with this as functionality. Now you can move in a candidate, link to requirement, select your requirement, hit select, and then you're straight into choosing whether or not to longlist or shortlist. Then you hit OK, and obviously it shortlists or longlists the candidate appropriately. So that's the update that we've made to link to requirement. The next point to cover is in relation to commission splits. So commission splits is so within a placement record off the view more option here, you have commission splits as an option here. So previously the workflow in relation to adding a user so that they had a commission entitlement was less than intuitive, I guess is a fair way of saying. So what we've done is we've updated this workflow now so that it's just more in line with how the rest of the workflow appears and works within colleagues. So what you can do now, sorry, off the view more, hit commission splits, that will bring down a partial view as it would normally do. You can then select each individual user related to it, or you can add additional users as you could before. Assign their associated commission split, and also there's an option to add notes. What essentially is the norm in terms of being a default is that there should be at least 100% assigned in terms of what the associated commission should be, or the associated commission total. But what you can do is obviously specify commission at various different levels beneath 100. It will give you a warning to advise that you're currently beneath 100, but you can obviously just mix around the assigned commission now quite nicely. So you could say, I don't know, resourcer as an example, hit save there, and then if we have this one at 15, what you'll see is that warning now goes. And this guy could be, let's say project manager, say, and then you've got essentially your overall commission, and you've got your associated notes and your users there, and those can obviously be amended. What you can also do is obviously delete as well. You can delete a commission split in here as well, and that was again a functionality that you couldn't do before then. So that's the key update made there. If you are or if you have a commission split table set up which is beneath 100%, you'll get a warning message when you're authorizing a placement, just to warn you that that is the case, but it's your choice as to whether or not you wish to authorize a placement with less than 100% there. It's just a warning message in that regard, but that's just how the commission splits will now update. We also updated the workflow in relation to creating an offer from a requirement, so that it would bring over all instances of owners, multiple owners. So obviously within a requirement record, you can have multiple owners assigned, and those can be from various different teams, depending on how you've got things set up within your business. But what will now happen is when you are creating an offer from a requirement, all of the associated owners will be copied over into the commission splits table. So just as part of that, it will just copy those in there. The placed by user will have 100% of the commission, but the essentially all of the users will be added within here. So it'll be very quick to then go in and update the associated commission splits as need be. But that's the updates that we made there in terms of commission splits and ensuring multiple owners are brought over into the ownership and placement commission overview. That's the updates we made there. The last point to cover, and it's a relatively minor point, is in relation to the account reference field, which is an option that's available within the candidate's entity under payment details, and under the company entity under invoice details, and it's also available off the back office tab when you're in an offer or a placement. You have these fields called account reference, and they're essentially linked to the accounting system that you're passing this data from colleague into, and some of them will have set character limits in relation to the account reference. So what we now have is an option within the admin area under global settings, under system section here. You've got an option here of maximum number of characters for account reference, and it's been set as 8 within this system, but essentially depending on the system you link with, for example Sage, it needs to be 8. So if it's based on this character setting, it means that whatever number of characters you can enter in here is basically reflective of that. So I can't type in any more than that, and it's the same for this reference as well. I can't type in any more than 8 characters currently being, as that's the setting. So that's the update that we've made there. As always, if you have any queries or feedback, please do get in touch. I'll be keen to hear from you. Also, for those using Colleague 7, feel free to submit your enhancement requests via the support team or directly to me using the above email address. The next video will be the sprint plan for 19.01.02, and as always, that will contain a high-level overview on the items we intend to work on during that sprint. Thanks for watching.